time right there. So thank you, everyone, for indulging us with that. It seems so much longer when you're sitting here waiting, but there were certain parts of the lyrics that we wanted to make sure that the ever talented Jason Nelson from the Nelson family right here in Baltimore was saying in the lyrics to that song. And so some of the words were commitment and love and forever, and you can depend on me. And so this is identified as a gospel song, okay, or a Christian gospel song. And so there are many who feel as though it's really more appropriate for a wedding or a love song. And so we feel that it's both. The reason that we feel that it's both is because he clearly says, God says throughout, God says, I'm committed to you. God says, I'll never leave you. And so he's clear on it being a song as if it was being said to us as God's children from God. God is singing that to us. But it's also clear that it's words on it. The lyrics are words that can be shared from a man to a woman to a man in vows, wedding vows, in your life, in your commitment to each other forever. You can depend on me. I'm not going anywhere. And so we felt that that was a good song, a good foundation to build on in terms of those lyrics to help us as we aspire to talk about staying together forever through thick and thin. I think I was trying to write down what he said. Yeah, through thick and thin, he's there. So that's why we started with that. And moving forward, as we strive to give you keys that we have actually used, we've actually implemented these keys moving forward. We believe that God created marriage to be a blessing to both husbands and wives. We believe, based on what the Bible says, that it's meant to be a lifelong covenant. We know we've been married 39 and a half years, close to that. We've had our share of struggles and challenges. Anybody that's been married that long, anybody that's been married any amount of time, you're going to have struggles and challenges to overcome. And we've had our share. But we also believe that those challenges and struggles can be overcome. We are living witnesses to that. There are things that we'll share with you as we were on our way to this marriage, a love affair for life or lifelong marriage affair. We keep switching the title, whereby we always did, but we didn't have a clear understanding of it. You know, we did a lot, but now we have more understanding. Beginning several years ago when our marriage went through a challenge, just lots of things was going on, from aging parents to children, just things that come up, jobs, just things that come up along the way. And we made the determination, we had to be intentional. And so I would say to you that as a witness, you can have a deeply rewarding, lifelong commitment. I think we can stand on those 39 and a half years of marriage to say it is possible to overcome challenges. You have to be determined, you have to be purposeful, and you have to be intentional. And that's what we had to do. We had to sit down and say, look, okay, we need to try to do some different things and come up with some different strategies and just sit down and learn. And what we started with was the Bible, which my husband is going to elaborate on that part in a minute. So let's start off by, we say that this is marriage, a love affair for life, or a lifelong love affair. So oftentimes when we hear the word love affair, it has negative intonations, especially as it pertains to marriage. But for tonight's definition, we're focusing on, well, we came up with a definition, many different definitions. A love affair occurs when two people become romantically involved. Some characteristics of this are when two people adore each other and are infatuated with each other. A romantic relationship where there's physical, sexual, emotional bonding, sometimes financial bonding or involvement, or the word that's been floating around lately, entanglement. It's a adoration between lovers. They can't wait to see each other. Okay, so but guess what? Many of those things occur when you're in a committed relationship, when you first get married, when you're first engaged, when you first start dating. The problem is, or the challenge is, that as life's challenges come upon us, we're not as intentional. We're not as purposeful about maintaining that aspect of our relationship. But it doesn't have to be an illicit relationship, as, like I said, love affairs. When you hear that term, we oftentimes relate it to the illicitness of a relationship. But we experience those very same things when we first get together. And so we have learned through 39 and a half years of marriage that you can maintain, and establish, and maintain a lifelong relationship that's filled with passion, purpose, and romance and fun. And all of those things that you feel despite life's challenges. You feel those things when you first get together. You can still have that with purposeful intention. Before we share our keys, our list of keys, we do want to kind of do a disclaimer. This is not an exhaustive list. We didn't include everything that we've done, nor everything that others have done, but we did highlight just a few key factors that we feel that are important towards establishing a forever foundation.
The first key is give your marriage to God. Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." The key is to put him first. Surrender your marriage or relationship to God. Let go of your own plans for your marriage and pray for God to use your marriage to fulfill his purposes. Shift your focus away from your own desires and towards God's plans and your spouse's needs. For example, ask your spouse, "How can I serve you today? What do you need me to do for you today?" We believe, just like in other areas, in the life of a believer, God wants us to look beyond ourselves. When you do so, your marriage will have great power to inspire people and draw others closer to him. So view your marriage from God's perspective as a gift that can bless not only you and your spouse, but others as well. Putting God first means to pray as individuals and pray together. Seek God for your marriage. Be intentional, including him as part of your marriage. A threefold cord, God, your spouse, and you, is not easily broken. This is a kingdom marriage.
Kingdom. And so Reverend Phil and Jackie both know that we love saying that we are kingdom people. That's my kingdom man. That's my kingdom marriage. So we very, very much embrace that concept. So moving forward with another key that has worked for us, and that is embracing your differences. And so married couples often fight about their differences. In fact, a top reason for divorce that's cited is what? Irreconcilable differences. And so we have learned to encourage to embrace differences instead of going up against them. Embrace them and explore the potential blessings that can come as a result of them. Richard and I are very different. At our core, we're the same. We have the same important values and beliefs, of course, but we're very different. I'm a clothes horse, a clothes fanatic. Everything has to match. Not him. Anything. He will go out of here, on, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Did you wear that shirt last week? This shirt is clean, isn't it? So, just other things. I did want to share that your differences can complement each other instead of looking at it as something that goes against. If I use an example for Richard with sports, he is I used to view when we first started dating in the first several years of our marriage, sports was my competition. It just took up all of his time. Not only did he watch every sports, but he played every sports, and he's good at it. That cheering and hooping and hollering, that's my man playing basketball when we were dating, only lasts for so much. But when you get home, he wants to watch the game too, And so, but I learned through, and we'll get more into that strategy as far as coming into your spouse's world. I learned that it was important to Richard that I be a part of his hobbies and things that he do. So sports was one of those things. And as I engaged in something that was different and sat down and watched with him and tried to learn, he loved that. He loved it. And I found that I liked it too, as well. And when I teach, I was even using different sports analogy, team concepts and things like that with my class. One of my young people, Brent, even put on Facebook one time, "Miss Tina, you need to talk to my wife about, sports," because I'll chime in with the guys sometimes. So I don't know a whole lot, but I have learned more from opening myself up to be embracing towards my husband, his differences. It can grow you closer, and it can grow you closer to God as well. Were you gonna say something, honey?
Yeah, well, she did, and we used to on New Year's Day because when they had all the bowls, all the college bowl games or whatever, that was one of her times that she would get in the car and go to the mall and go shopping, okay, and just leave me at home to watch the games all day long, okay. Well, that also cost me a lot of money too. So, so then as we grew older and she
Wiser.
became wiser, right? She finally decided she's gonna sit down, and she did, and she started, listening and watching stuff with me, and she found out that there's a whole lot of stuff in sports that's better than any type of gossip column or anything that you can read
Oh,
about.
you should have said that, honey.
Well, yeah, but anyway, but there's a whole lot of things
Intriguing.
going on. Okay, a whole lot of things going on.
It's not as boring as I thought. Put it like that.
Right. So she found out, and so she started watching, and now she even sometimes calls me or whatever and says, "Did you hear about something being traded? Or did you hear about it?" And I was like, "No." She says, "Well, he was, So anyway, she has taken an interest, right, and that has drawn us closer together, and we can spend more time together doing that together and stuff, and it's a way for us to bond more too. So.
Yes.
So did you take an interest in her shopping?
I do go with her when she wants me to. I will go with her. I will actually, if she wants me to critique something, I will do that or whatever.
The critiquing, everything looks good. He won't, everything looks good.
I will tell you when something that I really don't
Yeah,
like.
you've learned to. You've learned to.
I will tell you.
But that's just one example. We're just different in our personalities. Given the situation, I can be very vibrant and engaged, and Richard falls back. But he's mostly, just kind of loud and just, sociable. And I kind of fall back in social environments. And so we had to adjust to that, though, instead of me like, "You're always everywhere." And then him like, "You just kind of stand off in the corner." We kind of compliment each other with that. And he tries to kind of engage me in, and then he'll kind of come over and stand with me and not have to be everywhere sometimes. So you just learn to embrace those differences, and that can help to strengthen instead of those differences coming between the two of you and causing a problem. Another key factor that we have, I think, am I up next or you? Okay, is move beyond the small story to the greater story. What does that mean? That means as important as your marriage is to the two of you, and I hate to refer to it as a small story, but as you want to look beyond just the two of you. Our marriage is bigger than Richard and I. Why? Because God has blessed marriage. It's about a greater work that the Lord God causes you, or calls is a better word for you to do. You want to consider that others watch. We've had people in church that I don't even know pay attention to us, come up to us. You remember the one time, the one young lady, we were walking out and she said, "You are always there for your wife, making sure that you escort her in, and we just things she was saying that we never realized that people even paying attention to is just what we do." And so your marriage is bigger than the smaller, although important story of just the two of you. And that's important to understand. Your marriage this is a quote, "Your marriage should reflect and show everyone who sees you what a kingdom marriage in action looks like." So you have to keep that in mind. It's not about trying to impress anybody. It's not about that. It's not about fronting or perpetrating. It's about being real about who God has called us to be in our marriage, and understanding that it's not just limited to here. This right here, this format where we are right now with the Millers having the victory talk, and the fourth, Friday of every month being dedicated to marriage, and us being here, is evidence of that it's bigger than just the couple itself. So.
Yeah, one of the other keys is pray about God's vision for your marriage.
Oh.
Take a few days to go on a retreat with your spouse to seek God's guidance for your marriage. In prayer, confess and repent your sins. Talk about the big issues in your marriage, and ask God to tell you and your spouse what He wants you to accomplish during the coming year. Listen for God's responses and write down the messages He communicates to you and your spouse. Every year, try to go on a vision retreat together. We've been on a vision retreat. We went on one, right? And some of the things that we talk about, or during the vision retreat, is our faith, family, finances, our health. Those are things that are going to be happening to you throughout the year. So you want to be able to actually kind of have a vision about what you want to do about those things over the coming year. So we've done that, and it really worked for us.
Yes,
So
it did.
and we write those things down, and you can refer to them throughout the year.
We actually looked at
Yeah,
some of them as we were preparing
I looked at
this.
it, right, and some
Oh,
of the
wow.
things that we had wrote down together, because each spouse needs to write down things, and a lot of those things that we did, and they did come to fact. So
Yeah.
so we need to do that.
Can I comment on that a
Sure.
little bit? And so when we first heard of this going on a vision retreat, we heard about it. We're big fans of Jimmy and Karen Evans for the Marriage Today. In fact, in large part, this discussion that we're having with you is based on one of his series. I forgot, Marriage, a lifelong love affair. And so probably about 6 of the keys that we're sharing with you come from there. We've included in these keys, they're absolutely keys that we have used, but we also have some of our own original keys as well. And he has many more than the 5 or 6 that we shared. But when we first learned about a vision retreat, we were like, huh? So we talked about it, and okay, we'll try it. And we went, like maybe 3 of them, 3, maybe 4 of them, where we literally we go away for a weekend, Friday through Sunday evening. We sit down. We ahead of time. I've kind of written up, what I want to talk about. He has. We share. We live after years and years of marriage, learning things that we never even knew. Why? Because during the course of your day-to-day life, really, honestly, keep it real. How often do you have time to sit down and talk about that, or make the time to do it? Let's say that. You're too busy talking about things that are coming up, real things, important things. But to really sit, and when you do, it's not the same as having a whole entire weekend just with the 2 of you, just to do that. I'm telling you, it's one of the best things we ever did. Sitting and sharing, setting goals for our marriage and for each other, our concerns, what we want to keep happening, what has to stop happening. We had goals for our marriage, goals for our children, and our family. You don't have a lot of control necessarily, especially as your children get older, but just things that we can do. Our what would be the word for it? Our whatever our role is in terms of helping to achieve the goals as it pertains to children in our lives and in our family. So I just wanted to share. We recommend all of this stuff, but that was really amazing experience, way different than just going away for a weekend, which is great, without an agenda, just to be together, but to purposefully sit down with a vision retreat for your marriage. It was a phenomenal experience. It really was.
Yeah, and it's and it was a full packed weekend. Not only did we talk about our marriage and stuff and different things and what we want to do in the coming year, but we also had fun things that we did too. We went and we did shopping, movies, and we
mini golf.
We had a lot of other things, and we went out to eat, and there was a lot of prayer involved, and so it was a full weekend, but it was just us together, and that made it really, really good.
So let me ask you guys, during that time when you're on that type of vision retreat, do you find that you you are able to express and share some things with one another that may have been some contention within the marriage?
Yes.
Did it help you to get it out and to deal with it better?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's what it's all about. It's for to come and say if you have some concerns or you have things that you're worried about or things that you didn't or don't get a chance to actually talk about in your everyday situations, then you can do it then. And the whole thing about the vision retreat is that you need to be open and honest with it. You need to not hold anything back. If there's something that you've been holding back and you hadn't said anything about it, well, now is a good time to do it. Because we're on this vision retreat to try to get ourselves focused for the coming year. And so by doing that and by knowing what things that we need to address and what things, that are okay and what things, it kind of helps us, get things right. So,
and because that's why we're going. That's why going in, as opposed to just we're sitting around watching TV. You know what? I need to talk to you about something. While we have a minute, I need to talk, which is fine because that's day to day life. You have to get it where you can, but you're going with the intention of setting it and fun things too, like what you said, fun goals. You know what? I'd like for us to do this more. Like that's how we started the jazz festival every year. And that's one of my interests. Richard's not really a big music person, but he's come to love jazz. Again, differences and embracing differences. So we included that. That was something that I wanted to do more. Let's find. And he actually found the Silver Spring Jazz Festival, for us. And now we go to more jazz concerts as well. So he actually planned a surprise one for me that COVID ruined, and I found out about it. I let it go. That's another key. Let some stuff go.
Yep, that's right.
Let it go.
Let me write that one down.
So, vision. Okay, all right. So this is a big one. Communicate with love. This is a very important key to building that foundation for a lifelong love affair. It is essential to have ongoing communication in healthy, positive ways. One of the things as an educator that we're taught and probably other professional arenas as well, that when you need to have a talk with someone, in my case, a parent, you start out with something positive, okay? And also, you want to make sure that it's ongoing. The only time that you talk to a parent should not be when that child has done something of concern or, wrong or whatever. You want to make sure that that's not the only time. So this is why I started out with, it's essential to have ongoing communication in healthy, positive ways. The better you learn how to communicate, the stronger your marriage will become. You want to strive to create a safe environment where your spouse, where you each the other feel comfortable. And Lady J, you were just talking about that, where you feel comfortable to share, to be honest, even the hard stuff. But you have to make sure that it's a place where you're not punished. I think we talked about that, I think last month, with don't make your spouse pay a price for being honest. They should not have to pay a price for being honest. Talk with each other often and intentionally. Speak to each other with kind words and caring tone of voice. And this is a big one with me. Too often, married folk talk to each other way worse than they will somebody in the street. They'll use kinder words, a gentler tone with others, and not as often with their spouse. So it's important. How you say what you say means something. Your tone means something. Also, don't neglect nonverbal communication as well, like touching each other regularly in non-sexual, affectionate ways. That's really important to women, to both parts of the marriage, the wife and the husband. Tina. But it's important to communicate in affectionate ways, such as hugs, holding hands, smile, a wink, blowing a kiss. I love that kind of stuff. That communicates love as well. Lady J?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I feel like we need to maybe go back and talk about that, how we communicate with one another, because I find that because we do a lot of counseling as well. And I find that, couples and how they talk to one another, it's, that causes a breakdown within the marriage and within the communication, because just simply by the way that they talk to one another. When you talk with such harshness and, you can't hear the love in the conversation between two people, that just really does something. And, women, we have a way of cutting our spouses. Shaking your head.
I know, right?
We have a way.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You felt the love?
Yeah, I felt the love.
You felt the love. And so, and it's hard when we talk to our spouses in a certain way. It's hard to bring them back
Yes.
into,
Because
you know,
once it's
that love
said,
and
it's
feeling.
out there.
Once
It's,
it's
it's
out there,
out
it's
there.
out there.
It's
Yes.
out there.
Yes.
And you can be as sorry can be, but some stuff you can't take back. The wound, the cut, and scars. We learned about beautiful scars because I'm going to be honest, struggled in that area. I've grown, a while. I'm used to being, I'm the oldest. I was used to being, my mother had all of us young. I was like the mother, the oldest of five, and it eventually became six. And so my mother used to tell me, she said, the how you say what you say means something. Oftentimes it means more than what you say, how you say what you say. And so what helped me to start to change was when our children were maybe our daughter was maybe 8, 9, and our son was maybe 12, 13. And she was talking to him in such a tone. And I pulled her up about that. I'm like, why are you talking to him like that? When the children went away, my husband looked at me and said, she sounds just like you. And she
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And she did. And so it's just that kind of harshness, like you said, just kind of, you have to be intentional and strive towards. I know it's not always easy. Again, we've been married long enough to know that marriages just don't float through the sky like butterflies. You have to be intentional, but strive to talk to each other with kindness and caring tones and loving tones. And then again, like that nonverbal communication is important, as well as one of the things that Richard does that I just love. He checks on me. He does the check. When I get up in the morning, he'll say, "How you feeling? How you doing?" He'll call a text message. "How you feeling? How you doing? How are you today? Everything okay?" That communicates caring. Just those few words. I love that. Sometimes as soon as I wake up, I'm like, I'm just waking up. I don't really know. But just the fact that he takes the time to do that means a lot. We also added, ask God to help you communicate positively and effectively. The goal of communication is anybody can open their mouth and talk. You want to be effective with what it is that you're trying to say. So you sometimes, many times, oftentimes, maybe all the time, need to pray about what you say, especially when it pertains to resolving conflict that might be within the marriage or within the family unit. You want to pray about how you approach what you say. You want to be unified. You may not necessarily be unified in your opinions, but you ultimately want to come together in unity. And you should have a spirit of unity that this is our family, this is our marriage, and we are going to work together to talk this out. And so, like Lady J said, it begins with that communication. Because how you come at me, I'm not going to even hear. Or most people are not going to even hear what it is that you have to say. What you have to say might be very valuable and could be the solution to the conflict, but how you approach someone and how you come off is very important. And finally, with communication, Reverend Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share. One of our viewers, Belinda Knight, said, "Tone and your words, they matter."
They do.
So
You
yeah,
know,
that was a comment that we was there.
Everything.
But yes, and I
I
guess
would,
too, also too, one of the keys is that you're supposed to talk to somebody, not at somebody.
Yes.
You know, if you're talking to somebody and that person is actually listening, okay, and not trying to develop their next response while you're talking, okay, then they can actually hear what you're saying, and then they can respond to what you said.
As opposed to formulating a response.
Yeah, right.
I
Because
know, yeah.
you could be thinking about what you're gonna say while the other person is talking, you don't even hear them. You know,
Right.
and then now you come back, you know, and so that's one of the key parts of communicating is that you got to talk to people, not at people.
yeah, I was sitting
And the
there
last
thinking
part,
about, well, you know,
Philip,
yeah, I was sitting there thinking about the thing about communication and how we're saying, we're all going to have disagreements. We're all, that's going to happen, and how we work through those disagreements. But I want to give you this kind of equation that when you win, you lose. Because a whole lot of time when we're having disagreements, both sides are trying to win the disagreement.
okay.
And then trying
Yes.
to win the disagreement, I'm trying to pull out every stop I can because I'm right and I'm going to win this. And a whole lot of times we drive the wedge between us bigger.
Yes. So true.
Right.
So true.
Right, and I guess one of the things that Tina's former pastor
She's my everlasting. She's
Okay.
my
She
everlasting.
is past the pastor.
She my
pastor.
and my first pastor.
Right.
She's
Yeah,
my
that
ever
was
pastor.
her first pastor who
Pastor
she
Kyle.
found the Lord under. Okay.
Yes.
You know,
Okay.
she one of her things that she told us was, she said, it's not who's right, it's what's right.
She told us that in our marriage counseling,
in our
our premarital
session, right?
Yes, she sure did. Oh, baby, that's the
I remember.
9 years ago. That's exactly what she told us. It's not who's right, it's what's right. The last part I want to say about communication is learn your spouse's love language. We went through and at St. Stephen's and on our own the book journey of the 5 love languages. It is so important for you to know your spouse's love language so that you're communicating love as to how they understand it and how they receive it. And so I'll close off that with the example, another example of we learned that I love, well, I think all of the love languages are important, but for me, receiving gifts, I really enjoy that a lot. And quality time, quality time. You got to spend some time with Tina. It is very important. And I was married to a workaholic who now has a part-time job that has now turned full-time after he retired. So, and am I whining about it? Am I whining about it? Yes, because Tina love is communicated through to me best through quality time. Richard, I learned, is more affirmation and physical touch. Okay, but so what was happening was because I love when he would buy me gifts and come in with flowers and just which he still does that stuff. But I just love that. I received that. I would try to do the same thing with him for years, only to get, it's nice. And just kind of like a dull response, appreciative. It very much came across that it was appreciative, but And so going through that, and I thank you all for that because I'd never heard of, I kind of heard, far away in the distance. But when the marriage ministry had that session, on going through the book, The 5 Love Languages, or Learning the Love Languages. I'm not sure exactly of the title off the top of my head, but I learned so much. And we took that book, and that was the recommendation from the marriage ministry to go through the book together as a couple. And we really did do that. And we learned so much. Richard pretty much knew mine, to be honest with you. He learned more so a lot about himself. Would you say that? About his own love language. But I learned a lot about my husband's. And shoot, we've been married over 25 years, a long time, 30 years maybe when we found that out. So it's really important in terms of communication to learn your spouse's love language, we think anyway. Anything? Okay.
Well, I guess one of the next keys is to surround yourselves with the right people. When choosing what kind of people to allow into your life.
Say that one again. Say that one again.
Surround yourselves with the right people.
There you go.
Yep, that's very important because when choosing the kind of people you want to be in your lives, or consider whether or not they're living their lives that you really want to emulate. Okay, whether or not their marriages reflect love and respect, and whether or not they could influence your marriage for the good. Surround yourself with people you admire, who are committed to their own marriages and are supportive in your commitment. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, we've been blessed, to have in our lives, a whole lot of people.
Yes.
That, for example, we've had various people in our lives, right, who been married a long time. Some, some longer than us, right? Some shorter than us, right? But they've always been people who had a spiritual foundation. People who we kind of share the same values and stuff, and so forth and so on. And God has always put those kind of people in our lives.
Yes.
So that was one of the things that really helps us, as we try to keep our marriage, on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Okay, next, follow God's model for love and respect for marriage. God intends for husbands to love, nurture, and be sacrificial for their wives, and wives to treat their husbands with respect and honor. When you and your spouse do these things for each other, you usher God's blessings into your relationship. For me, understanding how important a security is for my wife, then providing that security for her enhanced our marriage in so many ways. The emotional security, not just financial, because I've always been able to provide financially for our family and stuff and everything, and that's why I work so much. Okay, but for the emotional part of it, which is what she really needed. Okay, that's emotional, the emotional security. Then that was something that I was a little bit maybe not doing what I was supposed to do. So really, when I changed that, and I would give her that emotional security by, like she said, checking on her, listening, okay, which is very important. Being a good listener is very important. Sometimes, like your wife just want to talk. They don't want you to fix something. They don't want you to say, okay, yeah, this and that. They just want you to listen, okay. And so being a good listener and then to just say what can I do? Okay, well, what can I do? Even maybe even just a hug, just to hold them or something. Might be all they need. They don't need you to come back with this big elaborate plan, right? Well, yeah, I can take care of this. I can take care of that. All they want you to do is just listen. So I found that out, right? And one of the things that we know is that an unhappy wife means an unhealthy marriage. So
happy life, happy wife.
Yep, that's right. Happy wife, happy life. Yep. So
I wasn't quite sure, but the scripture that you guys were alluding to was Ephesians 5.
Yes.
It's Ephesians 5:25.
That's Ephesians 5:25. So husband loves your wife just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her. Mm-hmm. So we know that, okay? And then we also, from the wives, Ephesians 22, so wives, submit yourself to your husband. Yeah, I'm sorry, 5:22. Submit yourselves unto your husband as unto the Lord. So yes, those are the two scriptures that we kind of base that on, and that's what the word says.
Okay.
Miss Victoria said, because there were a couple comments, but I'm just gonna go back a little bit. Donald Pearsall said, "Great point. It's called the scorecard syndrome, and that's what I think we were talking about, keeping track of who was right and who was wrong."
Okay.
And then Miss Victoria. When we do marriage counseling, yeah, it isn't. We talked up. We call it, keeping the checkbook. Trying to, we constantly trying to make deposits, constantly, but it doesn't work like that. You can't do that. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
That's right.
Miss Victoria said, "You guys are an amazing inspiration to married couples. You have raised two beautiful children, and it makes my heart glad to see positive, productive, God-fearing Black families."
Thank you,
Well,
Miss
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's to God goes all that glory.
To God be the glory.
Because there were times. But God.
That's right. But God.
Just hold on. That's why we're saying hold on and be intentional and care and make a determination that the devil is not going to have your marriage because he wants it. We are, if anybody out there doesn't know, and I'm here to tell you, the family marriages is the enemy's number one target. There is a red target on your head, on your back, anywhere on your carotid artery, anywhere. He is out to get and to destroy. And so, you have to be intentional. And our final point today will kind of drive that home. Any other comments you want to share, Lady J?
Not right now.
Okay, all right. So I'm up next with our next key that we found was key to us establishing and maintaining a lifelong love affair in our marriage. Become your spouse's dream wife or husband. Ask God to help you meet your husband's needs. On the average, most men's important needs in marriages are things like feeling honored and respected. Lady, that is key. Ladies, that is key. If you don't know that, it is so key. And again, it's something that I had to learn. I wish I would have knew earlier. Going back to that whole tone of voice thing. I learned years later. Richard knew that I respected him, but when he was really honest on one of those retreats, he knew that I admired him and respected him. But honestly, he felt all the. Because to me, I felt like I was not outright disrespecting him, and he said no, it was not outright. But sometimes I use a disrespectful, condescending tone that I was not aware of, and I'm so thankful that I learned about it when I did. But I wish someone had told me. So for most men, feeling honored and respected is an important need for them. Enjoying sexual intimacy is a need for them. Enjoying friendship by doing fun activities together. So now going back to that whole football thing, using that as the example, we used it earlier as embracing differences. But now I want to share with you in terms of doing fun activities. And so we have a lot of fun together. But one of the things that I learned, attending different seminars and workshops and just going on these book journeys and things together, is many men, and mine, talking about my dream husband, wanted me. He actually wanted me. He actually loves when I am engaged in his sports. And I call him, and he thinks it's cute. He thinks it's adorable. When I'm asking questions, first of all, I didn't like it, period. But then I didn't think he wanted me around, because there's always guys together and whatever. But he very much, I learned, enjoyed, right?
Yes,
very much enjoyed.
She's become my best friend, okay, which means, I want her to be around all the time. And so we share a lot of things now, okay? She shares in with my, sports and watching, sports shows and different things. And of course, I'm with her too when we watch Lifetime movies.
Oh, Lifetime is more you, baby.
Well, yeah,
we trying to front
okay,
you.
well,
the old black and white movies.
Yeah, right. Turn music, turn classic movies or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever that stuff is.
Film noir.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, we have now we share things that we both like, and we've become more involved in each other's world. And it's great. Because I don't have to go out all the time now and be with the guys or be with women, okay, boy, because I got somebody right here that I can watch a game with. I can do stuff with. I can listen to a sports show or something, and she's really interested too, and she likes it too.
Yeah. But all the while maintaining our individualism.
Sure. Oh yeah. So, we have our time.
Yeah, we have our individual.
She got to go read her books, right? And I have to, do my stuff and do my, things, that I'm involved in.
Uh-huh.
But we do still come together and do a lot of stuff together. So, and that makes it good.
So, in talking about meeting your husband's needs, okay, and giving general information about, most men want to feel honored and respected, the sexual intimacy, enjoying friendship and fun. That's all, kind of across the board. But I want to emphasize to you, ladies, wives, know your husband's most important needs. Study him. We study and we learn when we're dating. We know. We study. We might, if we're in high school or, college or whatever, or we see somebody at work or we see somebody at the grocery store, she should be coming out right about now. I'm not talking about stalking, but we study. We learn what that person likes. And so it's great to know the general needs of most men, of many men, but be more specific. Again, the word is intentional. Study your husband. What are your husband's most important needs? The goal is to strive to be your spouse's dream mate. Same thing applies for husbands. Ask God to help you meet your wife's most important needs. For most women, it's security, whether it's financially or emotionally. It's displaying affection, open and honest communication, and the husband showing family leadership. That's important to many women and many wives. But again, what are your wife's most important needs? I may need more affection and physical touch than somebody else's wife might need. Maybe they're not touchy feely. So study your wife and know what it is that your wife needs or your spouse needs. We go through seasons. Some stuff about us as humans remain. There are things about me when we got married when I was 19 that still are present today. There are things about Richard that are still present today. However, as time passes and we go through seasons and people evolve and grow and change, what your spouse, as you desire and strive to become your spouse's dream wife or dream husband, what they need may change with the times. And when I got into my 30s, I started going through some serious health issues. My needs changed. You know what I'm saying? There were things about me that remained the same. There were things about me, that changed. The same thing with Richard in his career, the overworking aside, just the type of support that he needed, from me for maybe certain periods of time if he had a really strong project going on or things like that. So it's important to know what your spouse needs and what season they're in and where and how you can meet their needs. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I just want to jump in there. We are about to come to the top of our 8 o'clock hour, but I wanted to, say that, in regards to seasons, every marriage, just like the seasons change, winter, spring, summer, and fall, our marriages change. Our marriages go through changes, just like, winter, spring, summer, and fall. But not only, do we just go through changes, if you've noticed, your relationship changes as the season changes.
Yes,
Things
absolutely.
change within your marriage as the season changes. I've noticed that, Phil gets a little, he gets a little cranky. He gets a little bit more antsier when daylight savings time changes. When it gets dark outside earlier, that affects him. It has an effect on him. The cold weather, it has an effect. The cold weather has an effect on me. The winter, I'm not as, I don't want you all up near me when it's, because my body is ache. I just wanted to share that,
It's important. Thank you for doing so.
yes, our relationships have seasons, and we go through changes just like, our weather changes. And so I think that was, that's a big thing to, to pay attention to pay attention to. Miss Victoria says, God bless you, Miss Victoria. I thank God for this ministry. It is so needed and appreciated. Empowerment of God's people is important and necessary in this day and time. Thanks for a wonderful virtual Friday evening. To God be the glory. Thank you, Miss Victoria.
Miss Victoria.
That's a sweetie. That's our church mother, our church mama. her and Pop Green. So we appreciate them. Okay. I don't know. Do you guys have much more? Because we would love to bring you back next month for a part 2.
We would love to come back. We have just a few, but we would love to come back.
Okay.
Part 2. Part 2.
Really key.
Okay. So hang on to those. Part 2. So you guys hear that? So to our viewers, we thank you for joining in tonight. We encourage you to come back next month on the 4th Friday of next month for our part 2 with Richard and Tina Coleman. Our marriage is a love affair for life, and it takes work. It takes work. So I encourage you, put the work in. I did type in as they were sharing their keys to a marriage, a love affair for life. I did type in, the keys as they were sharing them. So I encourage you, our viewers, to go back and just, scroll through and, take you some notes, make some mental notes, or jot down some things. And if you have not done so, I truly, truly encourage each and every couple to go through the 5 love languages. Learn your spouse's love language. I'm telling you, it will save your marriage. Don't you think so, Phil?
Yeah, because some of y'all are in the same house, you're in the same book, and you ain't speaking the same language. You talking, and she is looking at you, huh? I don't know what you saying. Can you speak my language? You speaking that gibberish.
Baby talk. You you buying her stuff and she needs you to hold her. Or you buying him stuff and right, and he just needs you to tell him, that you appreciate him. So it is
That's
so
right.
imperative. It is imperative to our relationships that we learn and not just learn each other's love language, because you can learn each other's love language and not use it. If you're not
That's right.
speaking your spouse's love
Application
language,
is key.
it's key.
Yes.
Application is
Application is
absolutely
key.
key.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to say good night. I am your host, Lady J. I look forward to meeting you back here next month on the fourth Friday so that we can have our Yes Marriage Works edition of Victory Talk. I thank our guests, Tina and Richard Coleman. I thank my lovey, Pastor